Welcome to the Dougie Wuggy Story Hour. Coming to you today from Bentley School in Oakland, California. Let's give it up for Bentley School.
Yeah!
The home of the Phoenix, right? Yeah. Well, today I'm going to tell you something a little bit different. This is a original story that I made up, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something. I don't really know exactly what inspired this story, but it's an original fairy tale, you might say. And it has a little bit of a lesson, too, I guess you could say. It's called The Two Giant Brothers. Well, once there were these two giant brothers who lived on a mountain, and they each had a castle. And one brother's name was Brad, and another brother, his name was Grant, and they lived next door to each other, and they were really nice, and they would go into the town every day in the morning, and the townspeople would serve them breakfast. It was called the 100 Breakfast. Why do they call it 100 Breakfast? Because they had 100. They gave them 100 of everything. 100 pancakes, 100 eggs, 100 waffles, 100 pieces of toast, 100 sausages, et cetera, et cetera. And then after they had their nice big breakfast, both the giants would say, do you guys need us to do anything? And then the townspeople would say, oh, yeah, like a tree fell down on somebody's house, and they would pick it up and repair it, or a boulder fell down in the road, and they would pick it up. And so they would help. And that went on for a long time. And one day they came into the town, and there was like nothing to do. It was like kind of a hot summer day. Everything was fine. And they were kind of bored. You know those summer days where sometimes you get kind of bored, like you don't really know what to do. Yeah. And they were like, they said, okay, let's have a contest. Because they like to compete with each other. And then Brad said, okay, you see that boulder over there? And Grant's like, yeah. Okay, let's see who can throw it the farthest. So Brad picks up the boulder, throws it, I'd say about as far as from here to that building over there. For those of you that are listening to this at home, I'd say it's about 30 feet. And then Grant picked up the boulder, and he threw it like about 100 feet. And then Brad picked it up, and he threw it like as far as a football field. And then Grant picked it up, and he threw it about as far as 10 football fields. And then Brad picked it up and threw it like into the next city over. And then Grant picks it up, and with a mighty "Hurrah!" he throws it up into space. And it starts circling around the earth like a satellite.
Oh, God.
And then Brad gets all mad. He's like, oh, man, how am I going to beat that? You just threw it up into outer space. You cheated. He said, I didn't cheat. I just threw it far. And he got really mad. He started calling his brother a cheater. He's like, cheater boy, cheater boy, cheater boy, cheater boy. He said, I'm not a cheater. I'm sorry. But Brad was like a bad loser. You know what a bad loser is? Kids who don't want to, like, they get angry. What? Bad sport, poor sport, bad loser. Yeah, like.
Bad soccer player.
It's just like you get angry if you don't win. Like, I remember a kid in my neighborhood growing up. You know what? Every time he lost, like in football or baseball, he would get really angry. And he'd say, oh, you cheated. It's like, no, I didn't. Or he would cheat. And then he'd get mad. And like if he brought the football, he'd like, I'm taking my ball home. It's like, he was just like a really bad sport. Well, Brad was like that too. He was a bad sport. And he just had a bad temper. And Grant was like, come on, dude, it's not that serious. Yeah, it is, because you're a cheater boy. He said, stop calling me that. He said, no, because you cheated. And Brad just goes back to his castle, locks all the doors, puts up a sign that says, "Go away." And every time his brother would go to try and talk to him, he would scream out, "Go away. Can't you read? The sign says, go away, cheater boy." He's like, "Dude, really? Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah, seriously. Go." This went on for weeks. Every day, Grant would say, "Come on, aren't you over it?" And I'd say, "No, I'm not over it. You're a cheater." Well, finally, Grant was like, "Okay, well, whatever." And anyway, Grant just kept going into the town and getting his 100 breakfast, helping out, doing whatever they needed. And all the townspeople were like, "Where's your brother, man?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, he's in a bad mood." Like, "We haven't seen him in weeks." "Yeah, he's been in a really bad mood." "How come?" He thinks I cheated, and I threw oh, yeah, we saw you guys throwing those boulders. What was that all about?" "Oh, we were just having a contest, who's stronger, and yeah, I guess I just, threw it up into outer space." And like, "Oh, cool. You threw it into outer space?" "Yeah." Good job." "Yeah, well, Brad didn't really like it. He keeps calling me a cheater." Well, he'll get over it." But he didn't get over it. And guess how much time went by? A year. You know how many days are in a year?
360.
Yeah, 365. 365 days. You were close. 365 days in a year. And, of course, Brad was lonely. And he missed his brother. And he missed the people in the town. And he missed getting his 100 breakfast. And he had some binoculars, and he would look down, and every day he'd be like, "Oh, man, I wish I could get that 100 breakfast. That looks so good." And part of his mind was like, "Oh, I should just go apologize to my brother." But another part of his mind was like, "No, he's a cheater. He's a cheater. I'm not going to apologize. No." And he just stayed stuck in his brain. Well, all that changed one day when something very bad happened. A huge storm hit that town, and it rained really hard for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and the town started to flood. The river overflowed, and the flood came into the town, and people had to run for their lives, and houses were getting flooded, and buildings were getting flooded, and Grant, the nice giant, came running in. He had this giant bucket, and he was trying to scoop all the water out, and he needed help, and he really needed help, and his brother was watching from up on his mountain. He's like, "I should go help." It's like, "But no, I won't, because nobody likes me anymore, and my brother doesn't like me." And he's like, and then something even worse happened.
What?
The boulders on the mountain came loose because of the rain, and the boulders started going down towards the town, and Grant had to rush around and try and stop all the boulders, but there were too many. They were all coming down at once. He needed help. Plus, there was one giant one as big as this entire classroom that would have crushed like half the town. And Brad was watching, and he was like, "I gotta help. I'll do it." And he rushes down, and he goes, "I'm here, brother." And Grant's like, "Oh, finally. Okay, here comes the big boulder." And the big boulder came down there. "Ah!" And they stop at literally like 20 feet from the town. And then they just started like sweating, and then they kept like rescuing saving the town from all the boulders, and they worked as a team. And finally the rain stopped. And the danger was over. And together they scooped out all the water. And then Brad went over and said, "I'm really sorry, brother. I'm really sorry. You were not a cheater. I just was a bad sport. Do you accept my apology?" He goes, "Okay, I accept your apology." And he said, "I'll never do that again. Let's work as a team." Teamwork, brother. And then the town all cheered. I was like, yeah, teamwork. And they said, you guys hungry? Like starving. Okay, we're going to fix you a 200 breakfast
What?
for your extra hard work. So they made 200 of everything.
How about one?
They each got 200 of everything. And they never really got in a bad fight again after that. Well, sometimes they would get into little fights, but nothing too bad. And they became really close again. And that is the story of the two giant brothers. Now, oops. Do you think? What do you think? What do you think of the lesson of that story might be?
The lesson is to not be a bad sport or something bad might happen. Yeah, probably just like always don't be mad for too long and always listen to that good side of your mind and apologize. So on.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. Okay. Thanks for coming to the Dougie Wuggy Story Hour. See you guys next time. Bye. And always be a good sport.